What's going on? We're going to talk about one of my favorite artists of all time, Marc Silvestri. His run on New X-Men, specifically New X-Men hardcover. It's going to be Volume 3. There it is right there. Here it is right here. And a lot of really cool extras in this particular collection as well. Let's check this out. Shaky cam. Sorry about that. I got it leaning against my desk, so might get shaky. As you can tell, I'm a little bit of a fan of this series. I got another 2 or 3 of this particular trade right here. One of the reasons being that the binding on it is kind of crappy. The glue. I have had one of my copies started falling apart. So this hardcover here also includes. I believe it's what's in this trade right here. The Chris Bachalo plus the Jimenez book. But mostly we're going to be looking at Marc, but also the Bachalo, because these two in particular are artists that I do collect pretty regularly. So, yeah, let's check that out. There is something, though, with this book, if you are considering picking one of these up, and it is kind of a harder to find out of print book. If Marvel was smart, they would make a decision to put it out again. Can be pricey, but you can also score one for cheap, a used copy, affordable. Something I did notice, though, going through it again this morning, is that the interior pages actually on this, they're cut off. They cut off about a quarter. I'd say about a quarter of a page on the top and bottom, and yeah. So anyway, essentially, it's they trim a little extra here and here. But the weird thing is that because of the dimensions of this book, the dimensions of the paper printed inside of it, there's actually more artwork visible here than any of the comic book printed editions, because when this is trimmed, there's actually a full bleed image that runs off these edge, about an eighth of an inch on each side, I believe, and that gets trimmed when the book is cut, so that way you get a full bleed image like so. Inside of here, you actually get an additional, I'd say about an eighth of an inch, so you get an additional view of other lines that were not visible in any of the original printed books. So that's kind of cool. But there is the loss at the top, and there's a little bit of stuff I'll point out. Because Marc was already pushing the limit with some of his layouts. They were running really close to the danger cutoff area as is originally. So there are some word balloons, caption boxes. I'm not going to go page by page. If I come across them, I will point them out. But where they run right against the cutoff, so it's a little weird to see that. Really cool cover here by Bachalo. All right, so first off, we're going to see the Bachalo issues here. It is a 4-issuer. I haven't really looked at these since I bought the original floppies when they came out. I think it's mostly actually about Cyclops and what's that character's name? Phantom X. I'm probably mispronouncing it. Character doesn't get a lot of love. I know he's liked, but I don't hear people talk about him a lot, so I'm not entirely sure how to properly pronounce that character's name. I'm assuming part of the Weapon X project. Around this time when these books were coming out, I was still pretty much just focused on buying books based on the art. A little too hard financially for me at that time to keep up with storylines, so I was just, you got to get what you got to get. These are awesome. And who actually? I think it might actually be Townsend on inks. I'm not entirely sure. See if we give some credits here. Inks. Yeah, so yeah, Tim Townsend with Aaron Sowden, Alvey. Alvey's a great inker too. I've seen a lot of Alvey originals back in the Extreme days. He was inking Marat on a book called Nightmare. And I think also his Blindside book. And I just remember how clean those pages were. I was like, I want Alvey to ink me. Never did. Bat and Joe Ames on Silvestri. So yeah, anyways, skipped a few here and there. Yeah, classic. Really great faces in here. Really cool detail. It's not really coming through on the video, but a lot of intricate detail in these faces. A lot of fades and TP'd outlines to convey shape and form. Which, with his style, with Bachalo's style, he really could have just skated by with just heavy black with minimal shading, but he didn't. So I'm sure I've never seen any of these originals in person, but I'm sure they're beautiful. Wolverine taking a leak. Yep. All right, so I'll skip some of this. Man, that colorist really likes color red, doesn't he? All right, here's another one. I think this was the cover. Yeah. I remember really cool double. Yeah, these are really cool double pagers. A little reminiscent of the steampunk series that Bachalo did with Joe Kelly, right? I feel like those steampunk books are a must-have. Yeah, these are really cool layouts. I really like, in comics, you work left to right in English comics, upper left, lower right. This right here, this page is perfection right here. It's literally a staircase. All right. Yeah, these are fun. These are really fun panels right here too. I do like how Bachalo will do these smaller characters and just sort of draw them. I don't know. He has a really cool way about drawing them. Myself, I tend to look at a lot of like Arthur Adams for like the smaller type characters. If I'm ever having an issue trying to see how can I make this look really cool and not cheesy or not have to resort to a silhouette or a reverse silhouette or whatever. Bachalo is another good choice, definitely to look at to see new ways of drawing stuff like that. I've always liked this panel a lot right here too. So fun. He's so good. This color, okay, so this cover always kind of bugged me a bit. I feel like he jumped the shark a little bit with stylistically. You don't ever get interior stuff like this from Chris. I know he's working with Townsend here, and at the time too, Joe Mad was killing it on everything. So it might have been that Joe Mad kind of resorted to sort of the, I don't even know what to call it, like like the Madhouse look, like that movie Redline, with the really fat, thick outlines. What else was out around this time? I'm not sure if that there was a few Street Fighter. There was a lot of concept art coming out for that game and they did the same thing. They really utilized the outlines of the characters into the movement, and I feel like comic artists were kind of pulling from games. And Japanimation film, not just serialized anime, but the actual movies. There's a lot more effort put into those versus the little 18-minute chapters. It's a really cool page. I like this. I think this would have been colored completely differently today, though. This is a little lackluster, this energy stuff going on here. it almost feels like the color gray just sort of overlaid on everything. I feel like it would have had a lot more pop appeal with today's colorists. Really cool page. Look at this. You get some. So again, you get the whole thing, right? You get the Z formation. Bam! Right out the page. There you go. Yep. Action, 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 act. This is a cinematic page. Could have been broken to you know, like a 4-up or just a 3-up, stacked like a pillar of panels. But he didn't do that. Got creative with it. I kind of dig this. I kind of like this little design right here. Yep. It's just those fun. Let's see, I'm going to skip a bit here. I want to get to Marc. That's what this is mainly about. This is just an added perk in this edition. And these floppies here, they only contain the 4 issues drawn by Marc Silvestri. So I'll skip these. Now we're to the, I believe it's Phil, I think it's Phil Jimenez. Not a lot of Jimenez components in my style. Not a lot of his stuff. Very house stylish. My arsenal does not contain a lot of this approach. Skip it, skip it, skip it, skip it. Where are we at? Marc's is at the ass end. Here we go. Okay, so bam, Marc Silvestri. There we go. Here's this piece here, and you know, I'll keep that out just to kind of show. All right, so then you got these Nightcrawler characters here. Kind of throws you into this future, and since these books have come out, there hasn't been a whole lot of time where I have not had it out on my desk. If I have any sort of artist block, or if I'm inking something and I'm just sort of kind of trying to recenter myself with my approach, I kind of like looking at this stuff too. Yeah, this is like, you know, I was trying to explain to a buddy of mine, I feel like it's almost like the trifecta of art here going on. You got top tier Marc pencils, obviously top tier inks by Weems and Matt Banning, and then the colors are freaking awesome too. Great palette. Like, these colors are so sick. Yeah, these are cool. Yeah, possibly my favorite Silvestri work on X-Men, to be honest. Not to take away from the Uncanny stuff back in the day, but my own personal opinion, I do think that older work suffered from I don't want to say bad inks, but just inks that weren't suited for his pencils. I think he definitely needed someone with a little more technical backbone to their approach. Even with the stuff back then, when it was very much John Buscema influenced. Yeah, these pages are great. The printing on them is really cool too. Super close and similar to all the original printings. This is pretty much spot on. The printing inside of here, the colors and everything in here, saturation is pretty spot on to the original floppy releases and this one as well. Let's find some. Let's see here. Yeah, these are great layouts. Here's a good example, okay, when I'm talking about the cutoff, and this also happens on the bottom here. So let me find this page here really quick so I can show you. Not that it's a deterrent of any kind to not purchase this, because this is an awesome collection, and it's the only hardcover that exists with these particular books in it. Besides the omnibus edition, there's a Grant Morrison New X-Men Omnibus, and it does have all of these books in it, but it's quite a bit pricier, I think, and it's a huge book, right? Has a lot of stuff in there I personally am not interested in. All right, so right here you can see, check out the fist right here. Okay, see that cutoff? These are the same files, the same print files, okay? So see the fist? Marc drew this right there. I'm sure on the original the entire knuckle is fully inked. Because of the cutoff, the trim, this page was either shifted or he just reached that that threshold for cutoff. So there's the knuckle there. Now when you compare it to this one, do you see that cutoff? It cut into not only that center knuckle but also the index finger knuckle. And then even if you look at the spacing on that top panel, it's dangerously close. And that's what I'm saying. It's about the 1/8 panel. And you can see it too on this panel right here. See, look at the top there, and then look at the one printed right here. You can see how much closer it got on there. And it's it's because the formatting, the page size of this, they didn't blow it up or anything. Yeah, I know there was a specific page I was looking at, and I was like, oh wow, that's crazy. Marc has a tendency to riddle the edges of the page too with grit and explosion stuff and all that. And there was a few that I was like, oh cool, you can actually see a lot more what he was doing directionally with some of this. I think it was Beast Cape or something. Yeah, this stuff's great. It's an awesome face right there. Really cool lighting right here too. Yeah, Marc was yeah, A game Marc. He brought it. Look at that. But again, it's when he was drawing this, he wasn't thinking, oh, but when it becomes a hardcover, I need to make sure. No one's thinking that. He's drawn on 11x17. Playing with those bleeds for what's safe and what isn't. And yeah, so when you change formats, you can't just take a comic and change formats. You're gonna have to play a bit with the file, sometimes add some border to it, sometimes do different things. Like look at this right here, this one right here. Look, it's completely cut off. He brought that border so close to that cutoff that it actually got cut right on that one there. So same thing here, boom boom boom. And you can actually see, it's funny, look at this, it actually cut right on the top border inks on all three of these. That's wild. Yeah, but artwork in here super awesome, great colors, great inks. And there's definitely a lot in here that I'm already right now seeing that I'm like, you know what, I need to do some stuff like that. Really cool loose drop shadows, and just cool approaches with the rendering of them too. All three of these, this arm shadow, the drop shadow off his torso, and the drop shadow off his head, directionally he's got his wispy lines kind of going at an angle, but if you actually look at it, he's playing a lot with the angle of the lines, the curve of them, and their curvature around what they're dropping on. And he also has the understanding of the dither that occurs. And the colorists played with it too. They dropped in some blue in here right next to the purple, but it works because it's in the shadow zone right there, right there. So good. Oh, don't cry. Rover's not dead. Look at him crying over here. So yeah, yeah. Besides that cutoff thing, this book is flawless. They really are. And the story is okay. I mean, I know I don't discuss story on these. I'm really just trying to geek out on artwork that I think is cool that you might also find cool. But yeah, the story was fine. Some people, they thought it sucked. There's some people I thought it was like really, really good. I'm kind of in the middle. I think it was pretty mid, to be honest, for what they could have done. Um, but yeah, around these years right here, I was actually still trying to break back in with Marvel at the time that this was being published, and this series was actually one of the reasons why. Yeah, these are cool. I love that face. This face right here is so reminiscent of. Uh, Marc used to do a lot of these low shots, and he really is a master of how to draw women's faces at like all these angles. And a lot of that, it's because he studied so much um, early John Buscema work and all that Conan stuff, and so he had years and years of looking at that stuff. Look right here too. They look, they look at, they're attractive, right? Like these faces are very attractively drawn, um, super rendered, but they look good, and the colorist, knows what to do there too. Yep. Yeah, here's an example here. So this is actually, I think this was the one I was looking at, but I knew it wouldn't be till later, so I wanted to point out the cutoff thing. Let's see here. Where's this thing at? Here we are. Okay, so great example to show you. You can see right here on this one, on the original printing, you see there's one step, space, two step, more wall, right? You see that there? Here, it cuts into this bar right here. All this information above here is completely gone in this printing. And the same thing happens at the bottom. If you notice right here, you can see the floor in this silhouetted shot of him getting attacked. You see the floor, all this like skip, all that jitter. Right here, what happened? It gets cut off, so he's on the ground, but you don't get any of this, any of these wispy fades and all this stuff. You get this right here, right? But also, yeah, I think that was it right there. Let's see. Yeah, also, you can see in this one here, all this stuff is kind of getting cut off, all this grit, and these pieces of the ship getting torn apart. You can kind of see he was drawing it, and it ran off into the cutoff. But on these ones, because the book is printed wider, the files in this, it's like they trimmed here and here, but the original files, even of this, actually extend beyond the printed page, because that's why you can get the full color cutoff, right? It cuts into that. The color actually runs off on the digital file, and the artwork as well. So this is whatever is printed here is the safe zone plus a portion of what they have registered as cutoff. Here you can actually see a lot more of the rendering. Like there's actual like shading and stuff in this detail running off the page. These little tick, like that wasn't even visible. This little one, I mean, and I know it's kind of goofy to notice that stuff, but as many times as I've looked at this series, to be quite honest, it's pretty cool to see it. There are a few panels though that like the one with the 3 where it cuts right across, the top, and then things like this here where having just that little bit more of this fist right here actually does make a huge difference. If you were just to purchase this collected one though, unless I pointed that out, you might not ever notice, to be honest. Yeah, this stuff's cool. And then you get all the phoenixes in here. Never really understood this one. He's drawn kind of goofy. I don't know if that's a self-insertion or a... I don't know. It's kind of weird. He's drawn more like a realistic looking... It looks more like a realistic looking character right here. So I'm guessing there was some photo involved in that, or just, like I said, a self-insert. Yep. All right, so in the back here, you get some Phil Jimenez. That's the end of the Marc story. Some Jimenez pencils, more pencils. I don't know what else. They probably have the same stuff for Marc. It's kind of cool. I don't know why this ever became a litho. This, I mean, it was a cool piece, but it's detail what I could live without this on my wall. Nice illustration for an interior. It's an older 80s piece that Marc had penciled. So let's see, we got, well, we'll check this out. So you get, let's see, 1, 2, 3, I don't know if this one's in there. Some page layouts, 4, 5, and then the this was a cover to Wizard magazine right here. Yeah, Wizard 147. I got this book. So, what, 6, 7 pages? In the back of here, might actually, it looks pretty similar. So that's similar. I guess they are the same. They changed the border, but that's about it. So they look pretty much the identical file. This is zoomed out a bit, so look at this was, so Marvel must have had the full scans of these, because right here they really cut into this Phoenix Force, and right here you can see Marc actually drew it real high up, so that's kind of interesting. I don't remember these being this big, were they? So in this one you get a little bit, it's weird, so they're smaller. You get this page here, but then they go to these layouts here, and this one here is that Wolverine fighting Beast. So they actually jump. So they omit 1, 2 sketch pages. They go to here in the hardcover, so they omitted 2 pages. What's next? Some more layouts. Oh wow, so they omitted a lot. So they omit 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so the hardcover edition omitted 6 pages of sketch material, which is not super important. They're thumbnails that are blown up. Like to be honest, nobody needs that. But just so you guys know, trade paperback. Here Comes Tomorrow, New X-Men. It's usually found under Here Comes Tomorrow, not as Volume 7, because there's like 1,000 X-Men series that probably run up to Volume 7. But yeah, it's the Here Comes Tomorrow trade. Recommend it. Also recommend this if you can find it at an affordable price. It does have a dust jacket. This is the hardcover for New X-Men Volume 3. It's got a cool embossed blue metallic logo here. Yeah. So and then you get all that really the sweet meat. Get that Bachalo work as well. Obviously, you get some Jimenez. If you're a Phil Jimenez fan, there you go. Got some Jimenez in there. And then again, the master Marc Silvestri. So there you go. Long video. Thanks for hanging out.